Hey, pal, good evening. Glad to see you arrive there on the McBarge. I apologize for the not-so-comfortable office. We can't promise a 5-star atmosphere on a boat that's been abandoned for like 30 years or something. In case you don't know what the McBarge is, it's known as the Floating McDonald's, or more known as its official title, the Friendship 500. It first opened during the Expo 86. So what are we doing with an abandoned boat, you may ask? Well, we're actually planning on turning it into some sort of deep ocean discovery center, which explains all the ladders and work you see around you. So it's a bit of a mess, along with some of the equipment we have here, such as the floodlights in your office to keep things lit, and wires going throughout the McBarge connected to some security cameras. Why security cameras? Well, we recently had to knock down and paint over graffiti some no-good gang sprayed on the walls, so you're just making sure to keep them out during the night. We're not going to work overnight, of course, it'll cause too much noise. We even got the plumbing working so we can hose down the floors and get rid of all the dirt and bits of rubble laying around. This is before we got our equipment, mind you. Just try and not get any water on any of the equipment, please, especially in your office due to the broken pipe shoots. As you can see, you have a neat tool on your monitor, which is a plumbing feature. You can choose which pipe the water runs through with a feature on your camera panel. Keep in mind that's the one with the water droplet icon on it. Pretty obvious. Speaking of that, the water tank in this place isn't that great. Because of the broken pipes, it can run out fast and the water just pours out of them, if you understand me. But you can refill the tank with that maintenance panel you have there to your left. Just refill the tank with the water from the lake outside. Be warned though, if you get thirsty, I wouldn't recommend drinking any of that stuff. God knows what's been in that water. It's mainly used for washing hands and dishes. Get me? I recommend having a cup of coffee. But don't use the pipe system yet, because as stated, they're clearly broken, so the water will just pour straight out. And as you know, water does a lot of damage against anything electric. Speaking of electrical, you would not believe what we found during our search. A bunch of these rundown animatronics, one of them even being Max Tonight from those 80s commercials. And others like, you know, they don't matter anymore. But try not to get any water on them. Their torn clothing and surface is no doubt bound to have a few holes here and there. We don't want them getting more damage than they already are, now do we? They're priceless. So, there's your introduction. Have a good night, and I will talk to you later, man. Good luck. Hey man, good evening. I see that your first night went smoothly enough. Sorry if you got seasick or anything. We are on a boat after all. So, I wanted to mention something. When the other workers and I got here this morning to continue the construction, we found that vintage Mac animatronic just standing against the wall near your office. You didn't put him there, did you? I trust you didn't. I'm sure you wouldn't want to mess with a priceless creation. It's just him. Nah, it was probably one of my guys who moved him. Anyway, speaking of animatronics, you know how I mentioned that there were other characters we found along with Mac? Well, one of those characters is the Hamburglar. Considering that he was kind of in the way of our work since he was just sitting in one of the ladders, we moved him to the balcony of the ship so he isn't accidentally damaged. Even though he's small, he's just as priceless as Mac is. So keep an eye on the balcony and make sure he isn't moved by anyone. Anyways, here's an update on our reconstruction. We found a bunch of holes in the ceiling recently, and the workers are trying their best to patch those holes up. It's kind of dangerous. We have to stand up on the ladders and boxes to get high enough to work on the holes. Hopefully we can get them fixed soon. Weirdly enough, every hole that we found ends up crossing paths, and they end up leading straight to your office. And like the broken pipes in your office that I told you about last night, the plumbing in the ceiling is heavily damaged as well, so you can expect leaks. We heard a lot of squeaking coming from those holes earlier today, so it might be best to blow some water through the ceiling to clear out any rat infestations in there. But like I said, be careful with that, because we don't want any water on our equipment, and especially not on the animatronics. Alright then, that should be it for tonight. Have a good night, keep an eye on those cameras. Good luck.